I don't know what just happened with my video. Did it play through properly for you?
I think it got to like 2 and then stopped. I'm not sure.
That's so weird. I said it was like 6-4, and I was like, "Oh, we're on. We're live. Hi guys, we're live." Well, hi Christina. How are
Hi.
you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm really good. It's so glad to have you back on the show.
Oh, thanks.
Yes. So I have to start out with saying congratulations because holy cow, you had an amazing season this year.
Yeah, I was really surprised. I mean, we went from not knowing if we were going to have a season or what it would look like to MCCGA gold medalist and making WGI finals. So it was great. I'm super proud of the kids. They worked insanely hard, so they deserve it for sure.
Was this your first year in finals for WGI?
This was our first year competing in WGI other than a regional.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so we were like, well, we're virtual, might as well, we were planning on going to Dayton if they were going to have a Dayton. So
Right?
we're like, okay, well, we'll do, virtual championships. And yeah, so first time in and first time in finals. So
That's amazing. Oh my gosh, that kind of growth is like, that's fantastic. I mean, that's why we call you Superwoman.
yeah.
I love it so much. So how do you feel about all this? Like this kind of all happening at once. Like you got state champion gold medal with Ionic, and then you got to go to WGI finals and you made finals.
It's good. I feel really good about it. I don't know. I wasn't expecting things to grow so fast, I guess. Because this is Ionic's 4th year, and I know some people can, do it in a year or two, but
Yeah.
I think we just kind of were hoping for slow, steady growth. But I mean, fast growth is fine. Yeah, so we're really excited. I mean, we're planning on coming back again next year and keep doing the thing. So
Yeah. Do you anticipate a lot of new kids coming out next year to try out?
I hope so. I know being independent, it's fluctuates so much, with college kids. I have kids who, did it for a couple years, but now they're going to more specific like medical training and their courses get harder. So they're putting color guard to the side for a while or, new kids that are going to come in from different places. So it's always a rotation. But every year we've been getting more and more kids. So hopefully it still continues to grow.
Yeah, you guys were huge this year. How many members did you have?
It fluctuated actually because of COVID.
Right.
We had people who would start and then decide they didn't want to continue the season because it was virtual or whatever. But by the end of the season, we were at 22.
And did everything work out? Like I know we talked last time we talked, you had talked about planning to do this like switching out thing where you had like 2 people learning one spot and then like switching them out if somebody got quarantined. Did that all like work out pretty smoothly?
Yeah, it was a lifesaver. If we had not done that, I don't even know. I mean, there got to be a point where, kids were quarantined or they were close contact for 2 weeks. But we have to, videotape for championships or whatever. And then we had actually, when we were going to tape for WGI finals, we had someone get injured and someone else not be able to come to the rehearsal. And so we were going to have 2 holes. And if it weren't for partners, we wouldn't have had a finals tape. So yeah, it was a lifesaver. It's something that like we think, should we do this every year? Because
yeah,
for sure.
I mean, they do it in like Broadway shows and everything else. Why should that not be something we do in color guard too? I think that's brilliant, honestly.
Yeah, it helped a lot.
So what were some of those important changes that you made to your instructional approach that helped you be this successful, especially like you were saying before, like this happened so fast. This is your 4th year out and boom, you're getting gold medal. Boom, you're up at WGI finals. What are some of the things that have like really been the cornerstone of your instructional strategies that have helped you get to this point?
Well, I think every year, I mean, we're adding more staff every year, which is super helpful for me because the first year it was just me. And so that allows me a lot more time to just breathe and think about how we want to move things forward while other staff are, taking care of other things. So that helps a ton. And I've tried to do this every year, but more so this year with COVID, kids are dealing with a lot of like mental health things and there's a lot of stress that they're under and then add a pandemic on top of it. And so every time I try to just think like, this is their happy place or it's supposed to be their happy place. And so trying to be as calm as possible. Like even when I'm trying to like really hit home how important things are, just doing it with a smile on my face and trying to be as friendly as possible. Like this is super important and I don't want to yell. That's going to be my biggest thing, is trying to just be calm and, carefree as much as possible. I mean, everybody has those moments. I know there was one rehearsal where I was just like going to hurt somebody if one more thing goes wrong. But overall, just trying to relax, really.
Yeah. And I mean, you get to that point. Everybody gets to that point. And I think it's important for, other staff members and performers to all realize that everybody's human.
Mhm.
We're not going to be perfect all the time. So it's awesome that you really were like pushing out there and trying to, make it a great environment, even when you're like, ah.
Well, there'll be times where I like, if I know I'm getting frustrated, I'll text, like I'll text my husband or I'll text our show designer, just to like rant. I'm like, I don't want to say this out loud and I don't want to put this on the kids, but I got to get this out of my system like right now.
Yeah.
Which I know sometimes they're just like, this is stressing me out. I'm like, I'm sorry. But yeah, just to like put that energy somewhere else versus the kids on the floor.
Yeah, honestly, that's probably a good strategy, having that. I mean, you don't want to obviously be stressing other people out, but just having somebody that you can kind of let that out to, that's not going to affect the environment that you're actually in right there. Mm-hmm. I know marching drum corps, they're always like, oh, go write about it in your diary or something. I don't know. When I marched, we didn't have cell phones. Like that wasn't even a thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just like having an outlet. I think that's mm-hmm. a healthy situation to be in. So speaking of your husband and being able to text him, what did you find you were able to spend more time with your family since everything was virtual this year and you didn't have to travel so much?
Actually, I found it was the exact opposite.
Oh, really?
I really thought, oh, this is great. We're going to be home more. And I thought it would be great for the college kids and we don't have to travel. And but the way it worked out is instead of having one competition day, like on a Saturday, we now have taping weekends because we don't know how long it's going to take to get a good video that we want to use for competition. So it's like, refresher rehearsal on Friday, record on Saturday, run chunks that are dirty, record again, run chunks that are, and then let's record again on Sunday in case I watch what we recorded on Saturday and went, what was I thinking? That was terrible. So instead of being just one day, it ended up being 3. And so there was a lot more full weekends than I think we would have had if we had gone to competitions. Because we've only gone to like Tulsa or, Springfield, and Springfield's really not far enough away that we have to necessarily spend the night. So we really only have one overnight trip a season. I mean, there's other places we can go now that, we want to go to Dayton and all that stuff. But
right.
But previously, everything was kind of either Kansas City or St. Louis or a one-day thing. And so I did feel as though it was a lot more time away from my family this year.
Yeah, if it's taking up your whole weekends.
But being in Columbia and we rehearse at the school that I teach, which is what I'm in right now. My husband could bring the kids up and they could just like ride their bikes around, the gym and climb up in the bleachers and whatever else. So I did get to see them a lot more, I guess. So, but there just wasn't that, quality at home time.
So I'm going to show this lovely picture that you sent me of your children. If you guys don't know, Christina and her husband have 2 beautiful, darling children.
They're the cutest.
And look how perfect they are in this picture.
It was one of the good ones. They're crazy.
Wild children, huh? So they got to come up to rehearsals a lot. So how does your family feel about like your obligations to the team? Like, are they supportive? And I mean, I assume they must be for you to be able to have all of your weekends like that.
Yeah, they're super supportive. My husband's a band director, so he gets it. He understands the industry and how much it takes and the long hours. And even though we have color guard teams and, Marching Mizzou does color guard and Battle does color guard, our middle school does too. Marching Band is more his season. And so I'm kind of single mom during Marching Band season. And he's kind of single dad during Winter Guard season. And so we're able to share that. There's, a season where I'm with the kids constantly and he has to work and he's with the kids constantly and I have to work. And so we just kind of support each other through both of the seasons and he's great with it. At the end of the season, I was like, thanks for literally everything because this season was such a monster. And he's like, I mean, everybody's got to have their thing. So this is my thing.
It's true. It looks like it's Harriet's thing too, because here she is with your team when she was very, very small. Oh my goodness.
Little baby. Yeah.
I especially like, so some of the pictures that you sent me have these adorable costumes that match match your Winter Guard costumes.
Yeah.
The uniforms, yes. It's so cute.
When I only had one kid and like one or two teams, it was really easy to do crafty stuff like that. I don't do that anymore.
Yeah, look at that. That's such a perfect match.
Yeah, she was like a month old in that picture, so she's out. She was sleeping.
Well, and she must be pretty, like, they must be pretty chill about like going to competitions and having such like a stimulating experience too, since they've been used to it since they were basically born.
It's harder now that they're older. When they're newborns sleep, like 18 to 20 hours a day anyway. So most of the time you could just put earmuffs on them and carry them around and they were fine. But once they're able to start walking and running and having opinions and wanting to like touch everything, it's very hard. I took Harriet to a competition when she was, I think 2.5, 3 years old. And
here we are with Irma.
Yeah. You just put him in your little, papoose thing and carry him around. That was actually at MCCGA championships that year. And she just slept through the whole thing. But yeah, I took Harriet to a competition when she was like 2 or 3 years old. And it was terrible. To be completely honest. She was running around. I remember waiting for judge critique and she's like running around the library, like pulling books and stuff. And I'm like, I'm never going to do this again. So I feel like newborns great. And then once they get a little bit older, maybe, but I haven't tried to take him to a competition since. No.
That's a long day for a kid that age.
It really is. It really is. And my son can focus more than she can. She's just kind of all over the place. So maybe I'll try it with him sometime.
There was one this one. I love this picture. I feel like this is such a power mom picture. Where you just got like your little carrier strapped on and we got the earmuffs on and you just go.
Yeah, that's pretty much how it was. I just wore all day. That was that same championships. And so it was, we had a middle school team, so they perform at like 9 o'clock in the morning and then, independent team that performs late at night. And it's just, okay, well, I have a child.
Yeah, you just have to deal with it and you have to go with it. So how do you balance this role out, like your role as a director? I mean, I know you said your husband's really supportive and you guys have like your trade-off of seasons, but I mean, your kids surely like, they're like, oh, we want to spend time with you, Mom, and that sort of thing too.
Those pictures where I was carrying her around and trying to do, the competition and mom thing was very much like early mom. It was my first kid. She was a month old. I stopped trying to balance things like probably about 2 years ago. I just said I'm done because I felt like when I was balancing things, everything only got partial attention. And it wasn't working. And so I finally just said, I'm not going to balance anything anymore. And I could do that because I have a really good support team, whether it's my husband, my staff, my assistant coaches on every single level. I can just hand plates to people. So yeah, so that's a guard mom
support team.
who would it was football game. And I'm like, here's my kids. And then I did the football game and then she took care of them and I literally never knew what they were doing. I'm like, she's got my kids. And so it's very much like I focus on one thing. Like when I said my kids will come up for rehearsals when we were doing virtual stuff, they would be at rehearsals. They'll be riding their bikes around. They'll come up and give me a hug every once in a while. But I was very focused on what Ionic was doing because the kids weren't my focus. The kids were with their dad and they were, seeing me work, but it wasn't mom quality time. You know what I mean? But there's also moments where, for example, I'll have somebody on staff call me and I'm texting like, we're eating dinner or I'll talk to you after the kids are going to bed. And I try to, this is my focus. I'm not going to try to talk on the phone with you while I'm having dinner with my family or whatever. And so I think not having a balance has made it a better balance. That's kind of weird to say, but just saying like, I can't multitask. I just can't. I've learned that I can't. I'm not a computer. I won't remember what you told me. We talked about this. Like,
yes.
Myself, I'll remember that. Never remember it. And so I've learned how to be honest with myself and know what my limits are, and I can focus on one thing, and that's either guard or being a mom or being a teacher or
Yeah.
whatever it is, but that's my focus for the moment.
I think drawing that line and having that boundary is a good thing.
Yes.
Like saying, okay, I'll talk to you, but after the kids are in bed, like this is my time for my children. This is my time for my guard, and allowing them to be two separate things and not allowing them to cross. I think that's so important.
Yeah.
Like I think that's something we forget, and not even necessarily with children, but just as guard instructors. You know, we tend to try to make ourselves available all the time. My husband yells at me for this all the time. Like, you need to tell them you can't answer your phone after 9 p.m. And I'm like, well, that's when they have time to call me.
Yeah. There's times where I am like available constantly, but I have my email on my phone and I'll look at a text message. And if I feel like it's something I can answer right away or give my attention to, I totally will. But again, having those boundaries is super important. And it's something that I'm learning to get better at, but I know as my kids get older and they start getting interested in things, like right now they're both in dance class and that's really parallel to what we're doing. But as soon as somebody wants to play soccer or t-ball or whatever, I'm going to have to okay, now I got to figure out how to be a t-ball mom. I don't know. I think it's going to take adjusting, as they get older and all that.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting to have to split your time and be like, okay, like here's my guard time, here's my mom time, then here's my mom, my soccer mom time, basically.
Yeah. Well, and my daughter's, this is her first year in school, so she's in kindergarten, and I'm like, I want to be the room mom. I want to, be at and it's COVID, so we can't do that, but they have like a field day coming up. And so as soon as we got the email that was like, we need volunteers, I'm like, sign me up. Like, I'm doing it. So I want to be super involved in their lives, obviously, but also be able to do what I'm doing. So that's going to be something to figure out as we go.
Absolutely. Well, honestly, I think you've done a great job figuring it out so far.
Well,
I mean, especially with all the successes of your team, and seriously, I watch all your Facebook posts of your stories of like, this happened today, and Harriet said this today, and William did this today, and I love all your mom stories, and it just I love it so
because
much.
I started when COVID hit and we weren't going to see any family. I started posting way more on social media, just like updates of what we're doing and all that stuff, and then once things started getting more calm and like we have a vaccine, all that, I was like, I should probably calm down with all my posting. But then I'll run into people. I'm like, oh my God, I love hearing about what your kids are doing on Facebook and on social media and all of that stuff and the funny stories. And I'm like,
stories are so good.
Yes. Yeah, they do some crazy things.
So you have had to make some sacrifices with this. What has been like, what would you say is the most difficult sacrifice that you've had to make with having to be multiple different roles like this?
Yeah. I've always been a control freak. I've always been, I never considered myself type A, but my friends are like, you are 100% type A.
I would say you're type A.
Apparently, I don't know. I try to be calm, but I guess maybe not. Maybe in my head, I think I'm being calm. But I think when I first started coaching, like in my early 20s, my mid 20s, I felt like I needed to have a hold of everything. Like I felt like I needed to constantly be there, constantly be supervising. And I honestly really didn't have anybody with me that I trusted enough to just let go.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's just like being in my 30s now, or I finally have this group of people that I trust as much as I trust myself, that I can just let go. And so, I mean, I guess sacrificing control is a thing, but it doesn't feel like it. It feels like freedom almost, There was a rehearsal I couldn't be at, I think 2 weeks ago, and two of my other coaches took over the rehearsal, and I completely even forgot to ask how it went or like what happened. It was the next morning I was at color guard class and someone said something about rehearsal, and I was like, oh yeah, how was your rehearsal?
How did that go?
I know. So then I texted them. I was like, everything good? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, because I trust them as much as I trust myself. And so now I feel like I can let go. And I'm also really lucky because I have 6 other coaches, which I don't think anybody has. Or maybe they do. And I'm just, but.
No, we don't.
And they're all like, I have 2 that are former high school students that are now in college. And I have, a couple who are Ionic captains, but they also coach both the middle school teams with me and the high school team with me. And so we just have this group chat, and it's kind of like who can do this, and it's just kind of people can be there when they can be there. And I trust them all completely, and on the other side of things is like with my family, of course, I trust my husband. So if he,
Right.
if he has the kids, I'm not even remotely worried about what they're doing.
Honestly, I know this, I feel like it should go without saying, but I've seen it happen so much, even especially in the guard world. Like, just being able to trust your spouse is such a luck. I don't want to say lucky situation, but it's such a blessing to have, because there's so many people who feel like they can't trust their spouse with their children, or to take care of their house, to be able to be gone for the weekend or something like that. Having that relationship and that support is just so rare these days. So
even when I'm home, he's better at taking care of the house than I am. I will say, as busy as I am, in the moments where I don't have to be doing something, I am the laziest person. And so if I don't have something to do and there's like dishes in the sink, I'm like, okay, I'll watch Netflix and just sit on the couch. I'm like, we'll get to the dishes later. And he's like, when are you going to get to the dishes later? I'm like, I don't know. I just know I want to not do dishes right now.
Well, I think that goes back to that mental health thing too, though, because like when you don't have to do something, it's like you should have some control over what you want to do and be able to do the thing you want to do, versus being like, oh, now I have to do the dishes.
My husband can't sit still. Like, when you don't have to do something, he has to be doing something. And I don't know why that is, but I'm like, if you want to, please.
I feel that for sure. So what would you say is the most rewarding aspect? I mean, obviously winning and getting gold and stuff is like, that's a reward in and of itself. But like, what would you say is the most rewarding aspect of like being able to be both a mom and a color guard instructor at the same time?
I have so many kids and I love all my kids, like from middle school all the way through college, and then my 2 at home, just seeing them grow and like watching, where our little middle schoolers were when they first started in August to where they end up in April, and watching Ionic grow to the end of the season, WGI finalists, all that great stuff. And then watching my kids, like even when I can't be home, when I am home, being able to see them grow into themselves and be confident about who they are as people and what they can and can't do is wonderful. I posted not too long ago, my son loves dressing up and he loves wearing his sister's dresses, and he wore one to school for the first time. And I guess a kid laughed at him or something, and he was like, I can wear what I want to wear. And
I love it.
Seeing stuff like that is fantastic, just to see that growth. And so it's like, you're putting in all this hard work, but you see how much it's impacting your kids in a positive way. And that's super rewarding.
Just the fact, how old is he now?
He's 4.
He's 4. And just the fact that he has the confidence to do something like that at 4. I mean, because kids are starting to feel out gender norms and stuff like that at that age. And like the fact that he has the confidence to do that, I don't know a lot of kids. I mean, personally, I don't know a lot of kids in general, but I don't know a lot of kids who would have that confidence to be able to just go put themselves out there. Do you think that's like an aspect of having a pageantry parenthood growing up?
I feel like it has a lot to do with having a big sister.
Okay.
He's a lot more confident than my daughter. I will say that my daughter tends to get a little bit more shy and worrisome about what other people think. But she's getting better. She's also very confident in like telling people how she feels. So it's kind of cool. But he just loves to do anything that she does. But he's also still very boy. Like he loves his Batman socks and his dinosaur books. And so I think he just doesn't care. He likes what he likes. And, if his sister is doing this, I want to do this. And so I don't know. Maybe it's because second child thing.
Well, and his sister's still pretty cool at this age. He's like, yeah, she's cool. I want to do it.
She's really cool. Even though like she can be kind of mean to him sometimes,
I can relate. I was the big sister and I understand. Yes. Yep.
I was the youngest, so I never.
It just comes naturally. I feel like you have to keep them and make sure they stay in their place, and you gotta have that little bit of meanness sometimes. But
she has some leadership skills, and we've had to try to help her with her leadership skills. She's right now struggling with not everybody wants to do what you want to do, and sorry. So if you want to hang out with your friends, you're going to have to like compromise and not boss people around, or you can't be a leader right now. We try not to use the word bossy, but she can't be.
And I think there's a difference too. I think there's a difference between being a leader, being the boss and being bossy, you know,
Yes.
and I think it's important to establish that early on. That's so good. That's so good. So, do you see anything like changing or becoming more challenging as we go back to in-person competitions next year?
I think so. I don't know. It's a toss up because I know every year that we do Ionic, it's built up on itself, and so rehearsals are getting longer. The season's getting longer as we stay out longer. The more people we have, um, as we grow. I mean, one day I would love to have more than one team, which would then be, like you, right? World Guard.
I mean, yeah. Yeah,
Um,
yeah. That's the dream, honestly.
yeah. And so, our middle school team, hopefully this year we only had one team because of COVID, but hopefully we can get back to two. Um, I don't know. I'm hoping I get to see my family more since we'll be, doing day competitions instead of full weekend rehearsals. But I think also as my kids get older, they're going to start wanting to do more things with us or wanting to do their own thing. I don't know. I've never had kids over the age of 6 before, so
Awesome. Well, what would your advice be for someone who's about to become a mom and about to have her second team?
Mom soon.
Well, we are about to have the World Guard. We're going to be starting the World Guard next year, and I'm going to be giving birth in September, Lord willing, and the creek don't rise, that sort of thing. So, what would your advice be for somebody just starting out like this? I've been teaching and doing color guard for ever, and now we're adding this whole other aspect to it. So what would your best advice be, I guess?
Well, first take advantage of the newborn stage because he right, boy?
Yes, he.
Yeah. Okay, so he's going to be sleeping a ton, so you can tote him anywhere. Just get those little earmuffs to protect their ears. But really, it's like don't be afraid to let go and like make sure that you have people that you trust. Obviously, I know you trust your husband and you trust your staff. Let them take over and just don't think about it. I mean, that was my biggest thing is I had to just when I was focused on my kids, I wasn't thinking about rehearsal and I just had to let go. And so that would probably be my biggest thing is don't stress, let go, trust the people, trust the process,
That'll be I mean, honestly, I'm very excited about it. I'm nervous because I'm just like, oh, it's this whole other thing. And now there's gonna be just so much more stuff going on at the same time. So I'm gonna have to like balance it all out.
And I've always been the believer that if you want to do something, you'll make it work. So when we started Ionic, Harriet was just 2, I think, and William was like 6 months old. And I didn't know what it was going to be like, but I was like, okay, well, we'll start small and we'll grow. And we've just found ways to make it work. Even with, my husband's job, it's like, well, we have to figure out if we have a marching band competition and I have a Mizzou football game, someone's going to watch our kids.
Right.
But I mean, if you want to do it, you make it work. And so.
And it sounds like a lot of just communication. Like communication is key. Being able to like talk through everything and like make sure you're informing everybody what's going on and when.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we were terrible at that when we first because when it was just the two of us, it was like we did a lot of things together,
Mm-hmm.
And if he wasn't home, I was like, oh, he has percussion, I forgot, or whatever.
Yeah.
And then once we had kids, I guess we just kind of just assumed life would be the same, but a little bit different. But no, there'd be constantly times where it's like, do you have the kid? Am I picking up the kid? I'm picking up the kid, right? And there'd be times I worked at a school that was 30 minutes away and we had one car seat and I'd get to work and then I get a text from my husband. It's like, do you have the car seat? And I'm like, Mom, no.
Oh no.
And so I'd have to like find someone to cover my first hour and drive home to give him the car seat. It was I mean, we were terrible. And you think we would have learned, but it wasn't until 2020. My kid was born in 2015. So
that second car seat.
Oh my gosh. Well, we never had a family calendar. Like I had my own calendar and he had his own calendar and
right.
And so for 2020, this is so funny. For 2020, I was like, we're gonna get our stuff together. And I bought one of those huge wall calendars. And we went through and we filled, January all the way through, I think August. in our 2020 calendar. And then once February hit, it was like, well, never mind with the 2020 calendar. I felt like I started COVID because we finally wanted to get our stuff together, you know. So for 2021, we have a big calendar again. And so far so good.
Good. Yeah, good. I mean, we're in month 5 now, so
yeah, hasn't caused anything bad this year. But for sure, like communication is key. Making sure that you guys know where each other is and what obligations you have. And there'd be so many times where we would double schedule ourselves. I would schedule something assuming he didn't have something and vice versa. And it's like, oh, we both have an event tomorrow. And
now we gotta find a sitter or something. Yeah.
Well, I have a whole, group chat of high school color guard students. It's like, who wants to watch my kid tonight?
There you go. So I need to keep all my high school students' numbers handy.
Yes. And what I do, I'll tell them like, hey, I don't know if this is kosher, but we do it. If you want to come babysit our kids for a few hours, well, instead of paying you, we'll just take that price off of your dues, and they're like, oh, parents really like that. Oh, you mean I have to pay less for my student to do your activity? They just watch your kid. Okay.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah.
That works out really great. Yeah, I need to do that with like kids, have them come mow my lawn and stuff. Be like, hey, we come mow my lawn, and then
and then we'll knock that price off of your
yeah. You don't have to pay so much. That's so awesome. Well, awesome. I've been kind of like watching for some viewer comments. We haven't got a lot of questions, so I'm going to take that as a sign that you've been very, very clear in all of your communication, and and been very explanatory. I have a picture I want to ask you about, though.
Okay.
So this one, as you may know, for several years we had someone on the Spintronics team who had to have a service animal with them. And so we had a service animal at all of our rehearsals and all of our competitions and things. And so this really caught my attention, having a dog at practice. Whose dog is this?
That's our dog. So we have a dog that was our first child. And she is certified therapy dog. And so she came to battle with us every day. And she would either be hanging out like in the counselor's office or hanging out in the band room. She was in the yearbook every year. She had her own little staff ID badge. And so that was Harriet. So when she was first born, Cammie still came everywhere with us. And that was at a rehearsal. I was showing kicks or something. I was doing something. I don't know. And the dog was there and the kid was there.
It looks like a very nice Batma while bottle feeding.
Thanks. But now she's old, poor girl. Like she's, Chihuahuas have little tiny legs, and she just turned 14, I think.
Wow.
So she doesn't get up and down at the school very much, and so she stays home a lot. Yeah.
Well, she's so sweet. I just I love to see like animals involved. There's a few other guards that I follow that have like dogs that come to their practice or whatever, therapy dogs or emotional support animals or anything like this. We have John Sullivan watching with us tonight.
Hi, John!
He says, great session tonight. I'm always amazed at all both of you do. Keep up the awesome work. I'm so glad, because seriously, I don't know about you.
I'm amazed at everything that John does, is what I'm going to say.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. And then we have some advice on learning rifle here. Oop, nope, sorry, wrong one. This one, Brooklyn wants to know, I just started learning rifle and I was wondering when I should learn a toss. I'm still working on drop spins. So when would you say they should start tossing? When do you start teaching your students to toss on rifle?
Honestly, as soon as they have mastered a spin and understand the wrist rotation behind how to get it around and then catch it, we start working up to a single. Just understanding how much more wrist rotation and how much more speed and lift you need to put into the rifle. But a single really isn't that much higher of a step than a spin.
Right.
And so, as soon as you feel like you have spins down and can master, spin close on both hands, have at it.
Girl, send me those TikToks, Brooklyn. And then Kayla wants to know, how do you balance having 3 to 4 guards, being a teacher and a mom without going crazy? See, I think that's the key part there.
It's all my support and being able to just, hand things off. If I can't be here at the moment, I have somebody else who can be here. Kaya's one of my ones from high school. She drives me crazy. No. I think it's just, you have to compartmentalize, and those boundaries are super important. No, yes. Like even as a teacher, I'll tell my kids, I don't assign homework. I don't believe in homework. I don't like homework. I was always that kid in high school who never did my homework. I was like a C student because I could pass a test, but I was either at yearbook or at color guard, or I was doing something extracurricular. And by the time I got home, I would eat dinner, go to bed. And so the next day they're like, where's your homework? I'm like, oh, I didn't do it. I wasn't a bad kid. It's just, I was focused on other things at the time. And so I tell my kids at the high school level, you have an hour and 30 minutes with me. And if you are focused in this hour and 30 minutes, you will not have to think about me again until you see me tomorrow. And so then because of that, they're usually pretty engaged in class, knowing that they don't have to do any homework or anything like that. And so I think it's just super important to set boundaries. And
I think that's a boundary thing too. Like as a student, you're setting a boundary of like, okay, I'm going to learn about this topic while I'm in class, this topic that I'm required to learn about. And then once I step out of your class, though, I'm done. Like, I'm not going to do this as a homework assignment. And that's like you're saying, you don't give homework. I don't give difficult homework. Like I give, like, you have this little tiny 5-question thing, and you have 5 minutes at the end of class to do it. So it's like, if you really want to do it for homework, you can, but like it's there, but you need to get this done. And then kids have a choice. And I think that's important because they can set up those boundaries. Sorry.
Yeah, I can say, well, I'm just going to do it at home because I just want to socialize with my friends. Okay. I mean,
yeah,
make that choice. I'm totally fine with making that choice, but just know that it wasn't me that did it. Doing it at home. It wasn't me. Yeah.
Well, that's so good. Well, it's always so good to have you on here, Christina. I love talking to you so much. I love seeing your guards and seeing them grow. Guys, if you don't know, oh, wait, Christina, I'm going to show you another really fun trick I just learned how to do with this. And I might, oh, here it is. Okay. I was like, I don't know where it went. Okay. So on Instagram, you have Mizzou_Ionic Guard, right?
Yes.
Is it guard or guards?
Ooh, let me look. It is, oh my gosh, how do you know? Oh, it's Mizzou_Ionic Guard, singular. Okay.
So I will pop it up on the screen. And for those of you who don't already follow her, follow Mizzou Ionic Guard on Instagram. That's MIZZOU_IONICGUARD, singular. And go watch, like, seriously, seeing the success of your team and the growth that you guys have experienced is just, it's been phenomenal. Like for me watching, especially since we started our small little guard in a small little town and like have been trying to grow this here, being able to watch another guard start at that same position and just excel with it, obviously being in a bigger town, having college students, all sorts of stuff, and all these guards up. Yeah, like honestly, I want to say that you've sort of given us sort of like a goal or a blueprint to like look at and go, okay, well, that's what we need to do. This is going to be our next step, because you don't always see that when you're just starting out with a new guard. So it's like, this is the next step we need to go to. And okay, here we go.
Yeah. Well, good. I'm glad that's helpful.
Yes, I love it. And I appreciate it. So guys, go follow Christina's guard, Mizzou Ionic Guard, on Instagram. And I mean, it's on Facebook too, I think, right?
Yes. Yep. On Facebook.
Okay. And then
Winter Guard on Facebook as well. Yeah.
Okay. And then no TikTok though.
No. I've already drawn the line. I'm like, I can't do another technology. I'm not socially savvy like Jackie is. Jackie is amazing. And I'm just like trying to figure out social media.
But that's your boundary. It's all good. Like you're like, okay, here's my Instagram, here's my Facebook. We're going to leave it off of TikTok. And honestly, you're probably better for it. Okay, awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming. And guys, if you enjoyed this, make sure you guys like and subscribe and share this with all your friends. Color Guard is so much more fun, even if your friends are on different teams, to get to do it with them. Bye.
Bye, guys.